There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Yes, can you believe it? I am outside on January 22nd, I believe it is. It's a little cool, but in order to save my marriage and not push my husband out the door before noon, for the second week in a row, I looked at the temperature. I think it's about 12 degrees right now. No wind, sunny, supposed to get up to 15. That I would come out and wearing my thickest winter shirt. Did take my jacket off. And there I just wiped some toothpaste off my upper lip that maybe hopefully none of you noticed. But let's carry on, shall we? Oh God, it's been one of those days. I'm having a good day, except that I've had two mishaps in the last 6 minutes. No, 3. One was I got hot coffee or cafe latte out of the vending machine right here. If the strip is red, it's heated. On the top row, the cold beverages in blue strip, and this one came out cold. I'll be making myself colder, drinking a cold cafe latte this morning. There's a few minutes left of this morning. I think it's just before noon. And so that happened, and then I got set up at the bench over there. Can you see it? And I realized it was too sunny. I was washed out. Half my face was washed out, and it was my best side. So here I am, and it's a little colder here. There was a Japanese salaryman, businessman, standing right here when I first walked in, having a cigarette, which I don't think is allowed. But anyway, aside, he's gone, and I'm here, and I have the whole playground to myself. Oh, and then mishap number 3, I always bring my second iPad, since I've had 2, for notes and checking my Goodreads and stuff, so that I used to, before I had 2 iPads, I used to print notes, and it was just this big production, and now I just have the second one with my pocket Wi-Fi, and I look stuff up as need be. Well, wouldn't you know it, I accidentally pressed the button this morning to do the update, so I can't use this stupid thing. I couldn't shut it down once it had started, so I don't have the benefit of my second iPad. I don't have a whole lot to say, so thank God for preambles, or else you'll be whining and complaining that it's not long enough. Anyway, I don't have anything to say about the inauguration yesterday. I don't think it was beautiful. I loved it. I know that some of you are lefties and aren't drinking the Kool-Aid that the rest of us are drinking, and that's fine, but I love Joe Biden. And I think he's going to be a fantastic president. He's certainly not going to do everything that the farther left wants him to do, but he's somebody that they can talk to. They can push him, and we don't have to ever mention that fuckface of a orangutan Nazi name ever again on my channel, I hope. But now that we have Joe and Kamala at the helm, I think things are going to go quite well. All right, so I don't have any bails to tell you about this week, and I finished 2 books. I really hope to finish 2 more, and I thought I had enough time, and sure, I was quite preoccupied with the inauguration and worrying about what the Nazis were going to do, so that took up a lot of space and time. Doom scrolling, which now, as Doris of Audiobook said, we need a new name for it now. It's not so much doom scrolling, but I did put in a lot of time and energy on that. But also the 2 books that I was hoping to finish, they are just resisting me finishing them. I'm enjoying them both. I am. I won't say what they are. I'll talk about them when I finish them, hopefully by next week. But I just have to slow right down in order to take what they're trying to tell me in, and that's the way I like to read. And that's important to me, to read as slowly and with as much deep focus as I feel the book is demanding of me. But it makes me feel anxious again that I've got the 6-book limit, and these 2 books, they feel like they could take me till summer to finish. Anyway, let's carry on. I finished Judith Hennigan's Snegarachka, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I loved the main character. I loved the writing. It was such an atmospheric work of literary fiction set in Ukraine. A British journalist, BBC journalist, and his new wife and their new baby. They've got issues in their marriage. And then there's a cast of other characters. The caretaker in the building, some of them are expats, other journalists, and so on. And that class of people is the same everywhere you go in the world, I think. Because I really recognize those characters from my life here. But by the end, a lot of the characters that seemed incidental took on much more major roles in the story in a way that got a little bit to like a spy novel, not quite a spy novel, but that kind of a suspense story. And I hadn't really been paying attention to them because I didn't think I needed to. So that when the backstory came to the front of the novel, I didn't enjoy that as much. So I took a star off for that. I think another kind of reader would love everything about it or love that part more than what I loved, which I loved the character of the protagonist, Rachel. And the journey that she made in the novel, I thought that was beautifully done. And then all this suspense novel stuff started rearing its, I wouldn't say ugly head, but like, get away, I want to hear more about Rachel. So I took a star off for that. But Judith Hannigan is a children's writer. This is her first novel for adults. I will follow what she does next because I thought this was really good. I recommend it highly. And I also finished World of Wonders by Amy Nezhikuma-Tattle. And I don't have the subtitle in my head. Here's the GIF. A collection of poetic essays about various kind of weird and wonderful flora and fauna in nature. And I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. This is what Doris of Books and Heidi of My Reading Life have as their choice for January for their Book Naturalists Book Club. I'll put links to the club in my show notes. I decided once I realized that it was only 150 pages and that I had it on script that I would take part. And am I ever glad I did. I read it over about 4 days. Nezhikuma-Tattle is a really great writer. I haven't read anything else. I think she has written a couple collections of poetry. But I loved the way she wrote about these really odd animals and plants and trees and birds, insects, fish. And she tied them, each essay was about one such thing, animal or plant or whatever. And she tied them into her life story somehow. And I didn't think all of those were the connections was a bit of a stretch, but it didn't decrease my enjoyment of the book at all. And most of them did. Most of them really did fit into her life in a way that I thought, yeah, But no, I found it a really powerful read. So stay tuned. I think there's going to be a special video on my channel fairly soon about this book. I think so. I hope so. So that's what I finished. I can't actually remember if I had started About My Mother by Tahir Ben Jaloun, the Moroccan novel. I'm sorry I don't have the translator's name in my head. I will type it on the screen. I'd hoped to finish it up, but it's actually a pretty chunky novel. Like, I'm not sure, it's an ebook, so I don't know how many pages, but even though it's easy to read and I'm really enjoying it, it's not something that I want to rush through, so I didn't finish it. I'm about halfway through. It's good. It's reading very much like an autobiography, and apparently it is an autobiographical novel, so I don't know what's novelized. I don't know much about the author. I'd like to find out. But yeah, it's interesting the way that portraying his mother as an elderly woman at the end of her life where she is losing control of her faculties, and she sometimes thinks she's talking to her dead husband when she's talking to her son, and sometimes to her dead brother who died as a child when she's talking to her son. It's a really interesting way for a novelist to interrogate memory and imagination, because then we also get aspects of her life story that we are to take as fact, and when we see her sometimes being completely lucid, but other times not. But how do we know, and how does anybody know what's true and what's not? I don't want to get all postmodern here, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm taking my time with it. It's a good book. Everything that I started last week is great. I got the pronunciation on this thanks to some commenters. It's not Dougherty, it rhymes with Loch, like the Loch Ness Monster. Dougherty by William McIlvaney. Oh my god, this is such a Sean book. I am so happy that I finally tried this book. This is one of those books I bought at the used bookstore. Have I explained this store to you recently? Let me tell you again, it's gone now, but it was about a 40-minute walk from here, or a 10-minute train ride, and it's a philosophy store. And all the books inside the shop are, I think, secondhand, maybe some new books in Japanese language about philosophy. But I don't know where he sourced these foreign language books, but he had a big shelf outside, like a library-length shelf built into the side of his exterior wall that was full of foreign language books, Chinese, French, English, and so on. And invariably, I would find books there that I would never find anywhere else, and I would buy them because they were like 25 cents or something. And this is where I got this one, but this is where I got so many books that have been really incredible reads since I've been living in Tokyo. And last year sometime, no, even before, it was before the pandemic, so more than a year ago it just closed, and I was devastated. Anyway, Dougherty. This is such a beautifully written story, and I'm so sucked in after like maybe 40 pages. It's set in a town, not a city. I don't know if it's a town or a city, but it's set in a city that's not Glasgow or, Edinburgh, on High Street, which in this town is the ratty, lower class, poor part of town. It used to be the High Street, and it's still called High Street, but it's where all the poor people live, and it's about, I don't know, can't tell yet whether it's the father or the son of the Dougherty family that's going to be the protagonist, but they live there, and it's got so much heart, and I'm just so moved by what I'm reading, and the Scottish dialogue and stuff is much easier to read than it has been in other recent books that I've read that had a lot of Scottish dialogue. I freaking love this! This is the first real Sean book of 2021, and I'm saying a lot for only being 40 pages in, but I don't think I'm going to change my mind. I am absolutely delighted with what I'm reading. I want to read pages of it to you right now, but it's too cold. I have 2 left to go. One is an audiobook, and the other is an ebook. The other ebook that I told you I would be starting is Kiss of the Spider Woman by Manuel Puig. And the translator, I'm sorry I don't remember, so I'll type it here. I love it, too. I'm not very far into it. I don't know. I think I'm just starting chapter 2. But it starts out in a way that if you explained how the novel started to me before I read it, I wouldn't think it would work for me, but it totally sucked me in from the first page. I know the general premise. It's about 2 prisoners. One's a political prisoner, and the other one is, the gay character is, I guess, a political prisoner because he's gay. But I don't remember from the movie what the backgrounds of these characters are, other than one of them is gay and the other's not. But the gay guy is narrating a movie that he's seen to the other guy. It's all in this dialogue, and the other guy is often interrupting and asking what did this woman look like. The gay guy is saying, no, I'm not giving you any sexual fantasies, and then they're flirting a bit and comparing different things to, we gradually, if you didn't know anything about the story, you would gradually realize that they're in prison. But that doesn't come out right away. Any of you that know the story, I don't want any spoilers, but I do have a question, which I couldn't find by Googling. Is the movie that they are talking about in the first chapter, I'm now in chapter 2 and it's still going on, for all I know, that's going to be the whole book, is the plot of this movie about a panther woman? Is that a real movie? Anyway, it's so good. I just love how it's starting out. What a fascinating way to show character through 2 people that they're talking almost exclusively about a movie. One hasn't seen it, the other has. And it's like they're entertaining themselves. It's spellbinding. So I'm so glad I'm finally reading it. And the last one that I've started is the audiobook Animals by Emma Jane Unsworth. I don't know what really possessed me to try it, but I was going to try a royal biography. I won't tell you which one. When I was walking to work the other day, and I realized, no, I don't want to do that on audio, not without the benefit of the book, because there was all kinds of people being referred to that when I'm reading a book like that, I want to stop, Google them, and get everything straight in my head, and with an audiobook, that's, just not feasible. So went on to the next one on my saved list on Scribd, and it was this novel, Animals, by Emma Jane Unsworth. And after I listened to the first 45 minutes of it, and I loved it, I absolutely loved it. A big part of that was how well the audio narration was. I'll put the audio narrator in my show notes. But yeah, it's the kind of story, it's about female friendship, and it's kind of reminded me of Ab Fab, Absolutely Fabulous, but I must be the only gay man on the planet who hated Ab Fab. Now, I could have a biographical reason for that, because at the time I was living with a gay guy, not my partner, with a roommate who was really, really sarcastic, and I didn't like his sarcasm. It was wearing me down, and he worshipped AbFab, and I think I was reacting against him more than I was to the show. I don't know, but every time I think of AbFab, it's like fingers down a chalkboard for me. Do I have to give back my toaster oven? But this one is reminding me of that, but it's not reminding me of what I didn't like. It's really funny. It's really intelligent. I kind of like the protagonist. I can't remember if it's first person or not, but they're roommates. They've been besties for 10 years in London. I think they're cokeheads, and they're very sexually out there and enjoying their party life, which doesn't sound like a Sean story at all, but the writing is so good. And the one who's engaged, and her fiance is a musician who's currently touring somewhere, the States, I think. There's more to her than that, and so I'm interested in her character. Yeah, I think it's starting out good. After I listened to, as I was starting to say several minutes ago, after I listened to the first chapter or whatever, I checked, and it has a fairly low rating. It's funny about books, and I don't mean that all low-rated books fit into these categories, but sometimes the low rating is a form of disapproval of the characters' lives in a way that I don't like, especially when it's like queer books typically have a much lower rating than they deserve. So that's a topic for a whole other video. I don't know why it's got such a low rating. I don't want to read many reviews. I just want to carry on and hope that I continue to like it, because I'm surprised at how much I like it. So that's what I have started. In the coming week, I'm going to be starting one for sure, and there was another one that I was really hoping to start, and I probably shouldn't even try. Let me start with that one. I expected to finish up a couple other books this week, and I didn't. And had I finished even one of those, I was planning to start this. Butter, Honey, Pig, Bread by Francesca Equiasi. This was nominated for a Giller Prize this year, and it's a book that my dear friend Lindy absolutely loved, as did The Poptimist. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to start it. It's a Nigerian-Canadian writer. It's a story of 3 Nigerian women. I don't know if the story spills. Oh, yeah. So one character moves to Montreal, and another character moves to London. So there is a Canadian element of the plot. I thought if I start this in the last week of January, I'll carry it over as one more for Black History Month, but I don't think I should even try, because it's going to end up bumping one of the ones that I've already put on my Black History Month TBR. If I happen to finish one book this weekend that's part of the Magic 6, I will start this on Monday. But if not, I think I'll just put it as an alternate for my Black History TBR, and otherwise get to it later. But I really want to get to it. But here is the one I'm so excited about this, that I will be starting, and this will be a one short story a week buddy read for the rest of 2021, I think, with Brian of Bookish. We are going to buddy read the collected stories of Eudora Welty. Remember her and how excited I was about Delta Wedding? So because I love Delta Wedding so much, I picked this up at the book sale here in Tokyo. 20% off, and this is one of the things I got. And I asked Brian, who had expressed an interest in reading some Eudora Welty, if he would like to do this with me. And so our 34-week, I think if I remember, there's 34 stories, so it's going to be a 35-week buddy read, starts this weekend. That's what I got. Thanks for watching.